You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a professional motivational speaker, Nancy can assist you to blow through your setbacks and start living full out. If you have an inspirational story you want to share, email us at connect@livingfullout.com. Once again, here's Nancy.
Hello and welcome to the Living Full Out Show. My name is Nancy Solari, and today we're going to be talking about sharing your story, whether that is just being open at a happy hour with your friends, whether that is boldly doing a TED Talk or joining a Toastmasters and polishing up your speaking skills, or whether that's just being really honest, maybe on a first date. The thing is, when we share our stories, we're able to be vulnerable. We're able to be honest. And that is such an attractive quality, both professionally and personally. So we're talking about that. Also, in our next segment, our inspirational guest today, David Carey. What an awesome person, really. His story is tough when he talks about being a POW in Vietnam, but how his view of the world, how he is so optimistic of it today, and what he learned during that time. And sharing that story with us is just really, I'm so grateful for it. So you're going to know what I mean by that when he speaks to us. So one to stay around for sure. And we want to make sure that you are supported during today's show and beyond. Reach out to us at connect@livingfullout.com if you need support on today's topic or direction or resources. And also go to livingfullout.com if you'd like to hear today's show again. Remember, you can also go to the App Store. The Living Full Out Show app is there. It's free, and you can listen on the go, in the car, or at the gym. We just always want to keep you motivated. Now, I'm getting word from our producer that we do have a listener on the line. We're going to go check in with them. Hello, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi there. Hey, how can I help you today?
Well, my immediate family and I used to be super close as I was growing up, but after I left for college, I feel like we've been getting a bit distant, and I guess I'm just wondering, if that's normal, if it's something I should be worried about, and how I can sort of rekindle that relationship.
So in your immediate family, are we talking like mom, dad, and siblings?
Yes.
Okay. And, everyone's going to be kind of busy, but we have to find a way to connect with them individually. Now, one of the things that I always think is really, really important is communication styles. So my communication style is to talk on the phone. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I actually love it even more than in person and way more than texting and emailing. For somebody else, I know I have friends in my life who they always want in person. They always want a lunch. They want that time. And other people, even if I call them, I get a voicemail, they'll text me back. It's just their way. So you have to think of the preferred communication style for the loved ones in your life. So for example, let's talk about your mom. What do you think would be the best way for you to communicate with her?
My mom hates being on the phone. She's a pretty good texter, but, I'm used to texting with my friends, so we're not, generation-wise, we don't have, the same texting style, so it's a bit weird. So I think in person is the best for us.
Okay, so for you and her, it's in person. And how far away is she? Is she driving distance away?
She's 3.5 hours away.
3.5 hours, okay. And what is it that you think that your mom appreciates the most about her time with you? Is it shopping? Is it just having a lunch and talking?
I run errands with her a lot, and I make her laugh a lot, so she really just enjoys those conversations.
Okay. And are the errands things that she has to do for herself or errands for you?
They're mostly for the family, so shopping or mostly shopping.
Okay, perfect. So the thing is, you want to find ways to have your mom feel like you're there even when you're not there. Okay? So, for example, you might think of texting her along the path of her errands. Hey, Mom, don't forget the eggs. You always forget the eggs. She'll get that and she'll laugh. She'll be like, oh, I almost forgot the eggs, right? Or, making sure that when you are in person with her, that, you even reference how special that you enjoy that doing errands time. It's almost like, hey, Mom, I can't wait to come home. And there's a lot of people I want to see. But you know what the silliest thing is? I can't wait to go grocery shopping with you. Like, I just can't wait. Like, it'll make her feel so special. And that's really a gift when we can allow people to get that gift. The other thing is, after you come and go and she's all excited, she had you for several days and now she's missing you, maybe put a couple Post-it notes like in her car, like when she goes to pull down, her visor, right? There's a Post-it note. Love you. Don't forget the eggs, right? It could be any number of things that would inspire her. How about your dad?
I'd say the same for him too. He
Mm-hmm.
works during the days, so there's not a lot of time for us to talk on the phone.
So do you think during the day he probably wishes he could just hear your voice for like half a second?
I'm sure he does, yeah. He texts me things like that all the time.
Yep, not even like a long-winded conversation, but just, man, that would be like Mountain Dew for the ears, right? So
Yeah.
you want to think about ways to kind of sneak in something for Dad. Dad might not be on his computer, texting might not be his thing, but like, for example, there are many different apps, both actually numbers that you can call. There's one that's kind of a weird name. It's called Slide Dial, but there are many of them out there. But it allows you to dial a number where you can then put in a person's number and it bypasses ringing. It goes right to their voicemail. And sometimes you can just drop in a quick message. Of course, you could do that on your phone. You can do like a little audio file and text it over. It just depends if your dad is someone who's more going to get the audio file via text or more likely to be getting it via voicemail. That's why the two would be different. And again, I think it's carving out special time for Dad. And so when your dad and you get together, what do you guys do together?
Um, we're like a musical family, so we sing a lot, talk about music.
Okay, perfect. Oh gosh, I want to go karaoke with your family. That sounds like so much fun. You're my kind of people. But again, maybe it's sending him like a favorite song, song that you hear that reminds him of him, or a song that would remind him of you, or a song that's like a song that you both love together, or the cameos, right? Maybe there's some singer that you could send him a cameo, or so there's so many different things that we could do. How about your sibling?
Our interests don't really align that much. They are teenage boys. So, but I
Mm.
mean, we do like a lot of the same TV shows.
Okay, okay. But teenage boys, I get it, right? And I'm going to guess that they're texters mainly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then, not much on the phone.
right.
Take your, could see you in person or not, but text is their thing. So, same thing. I think the more you can make them laugh, teenage boys, that's all they want to do. They just want to have fun. They're silly. Here's the good news. The good news is you have a great family. But that family, we never want to take it for granted. It's been very interesting over the years. We used to have these big Thanksgiving dinners, grandpas, my mom's husbands, or different people. And then people passed away and people moved away. And we have literally seen a table that may have been like 12 people go to like 4. And mainly people passed away. And the thing is you want to really make these moments count because life is just moments. But the great thing is a moment can be a Post-it note. A moment can be a voicemail. It can be a text. And it's just about being intentional with that and almost just over the top about it. Love on them like crazy. And then they're going to do it back to you. And then you won't have any of this gap or won't feel like you're distance. Can you do that?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's really exciting actually because, back in the day, I mean, we're talking back, right? It was snail mail and then we had the good old-fashioned phone. But we have so many ways of staying connected. And I would really use the power of humor. So if there's an internal joke that again, something you can remind your mom about getting at the grocery store, I would go with that. Sounds like you make her laugh. That's your edge. Sounds like music is the edge with your dad. Something special that, just something between you and him. And then I'm sure your brothers and you have something. If you do that, your family is right where they should be. Okay?
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
I love that she shared that story, really, because that's what we're talking about today. But just like our listener there, her family, everyone's so busy. She's longing to stay connected. I love that she shared that with us. So today, go big, share your story with others. That's what it means to live full out. We'll be coming right back with David Carey. Can't wait to share his story with you. We'll be back.
Life looks a little different. During these times, we're doing our best to keep our minds and bodies strong. And getting a flu shot helps us stay healthy, so we don't miss out on what matters. Like having game night at home. Yeah, can't do that while sick with the flu. Now imagine family movie night that your daughter can't live without. Well, that's ruined. And don't forget your uncle's socially distanced cookout. See? That's why it's important to be at our strongest. Every year, millions of people in the U.S. get the flu. Especially now, no one has time to miss out on moments that matter. So get your flu shot. Find out more at getmyflushot.org. Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no.
So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning. The cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a life coach, Nancy can teach you how to stay strong under pressure and work through challenges you face. Being legally blind, Nancy inspires others to be resilient in overcoming obstacles and live full out. You can ask Nancy for advice in your life on relationships, finance, business, health, and more. Just call in at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. Now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back. I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about sharing your story. And our inspirational guest has done that to the 10th power. And it's really the self-reflection of his journey and why things have happened that really makes him such a compelling speaker in sharing his story of being a POW in Vietnam. And honestly, I can't wait to share David Carey with you. David, welcome to the show.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you. I am delighted to be with you on Living Full Out.
Oh, David, I'm so happy to have you. And I apologize a minute there. It was weird. I think I was so excited to have you on. I was having like a triple breath, and I was like, I can't for 1 second there. I have to take a pause. But honestly, David, you are such a hero in my book. And a stud, really. I'm going to say hero and stud. I know that when you were in high school, like so many of us, we don't know freshman, sophomore, we don't know what we want to be and do in life. But you, in your sophomore year, you decided you really wanted to do well in school. You wanted to take it on, and you did. You actually went on to become, in your senior year, captain of your football team and president of your class. And you were such a good apple. Your parents must have been immensely proud of their boy. But then it was like, okay, what's next? Which college? And you actually got recruited by someone pretty famous. Who was that?
Well, I got recruited for the Naval Academy by Bill Belichick's father, Steve Belichick, who was an assistant coach at the Naval Academy at that time and in charge of recruiting.
Well, and it's kind of funny, right? Here you are considering the Naval Academy. No one had ever been in the military in your family. Yep. And so in some ways, I'm sure it was kind of a random choice for your family, but it was a full ride, and it checked every box. And you didn't know everything that was going to come at you, but you knew that there were certain levels of commitment. And again, you had that discipline of being, an athlete and a captain and a good student. Now, when you went through school, you got your wings at 24.
Yep.
It's like, you were just excited. You're like, I just want to fly. I want to go do this. And after all your training, one of your assignments at 25 was to go to Vietnam. But did you know did you know what that was all about? Like, did you know? I know it wasn't your first assignment, but I mean, when you got that to go, did you know what all that entailed?
Well, Nancy, this isn't going to sound very good, but the answer to that is no. I was. Let me back up for just a minute. So I go through flight training and I get my wings. I chose to fly an aircraft called A4 Skyhawk. Had one seat in it and one engine. And when I was finishing care quals in the transition to that airplane, I got orders to a squadron that was on Yankee Station, which was where the aircraft carriers operated off the coast of North Vietnam. I had little to no idea of exactly what was going on over there or whatever. What I knew was that my country wanted to send me over there into combat. And what I really wanted to do, Nancy, was just fly jet airplanes off an aircraft carrier. And I figured somebody knows what's going on up there. I'm doing what I want to do. So that's kind of how it happened.
Well, and you were an excellent pilot. Excellent. And you did all your flights, but there was the day that a missile shot you down. What date was that? Yeah. And where did you land?
Yeah, I was on a strike on the 31st of August, 1967. We had about 18 airplanes. We were going after a small bridge, actually, a railroad bridge, just inland from the port city of Haiphong. And as we crossed the beach and they started shooting, which they always did, they always started shooting, among all the other stuff, I could see from way out in front of us, they launched 2 surface-to-air missiles. And back in the day, a surface-to-air missile was about the size of a small telephone pole. So when they'd launch them, there would be so much flame and dust kicked up from just getting them off the launch rails that from altitude, we could see them launch them from miles away. And so I watched these 2 missiles. They're in trail, and they're coming at me. And when the first one started to move on the windshield, I knew it wouldn't hit me. But the second one didn't start to move on the windshield. And eventually, we're talking about seconds here, not hours. Eventually, I decided if it wouldn't move, I would. And what I decided to do that day, rather than break left and have to dodge through 16 airplanes that were out there somewhere beside me, I decided to just roll my airplane across the top like in a big barrel roll over the airplane beside me and come down on the outside, press on the target. Well, it was a great idea until I was upside down over the airplane beside me. The missile went right between us. There was a huge explosion, blew the tail section off my airplane. The airplane just stayed on its back and started spinning and tumbling and gyrating, falling through the sky. Going through 4,000 feet, I got a glimpse of my altimeter, ejected from the airplane, had a parachute, and landed in the middle of a small North Vietnamese village.
And soon they discovered you, and soon they put you in their form of a prison. And they wanted to make sure you knew really, really good that you were a prisoner. And the amount of beatings that you took, I mean, they did break you, would you say?
Oh, yes, I would say that. It started out with interrogations, and then the interrogations led to beatings, and then the beatings led to torture. And what happened was we got to the point where I hurt so badly, the pain was so great that I knew I had to do something. And if I didn't, I thought, I'm going to go crazy here. And I didn't want to go crazy because even as a junior officer, I had my little itty-bitty share of military secrets. And I thought, if I'm crazy, there's no telling what I'll say. And so what I decided to do was hold out as long as I possibly could and lie. And that's what happened. We got to the point where I knew I had to do something. I started lying. I lied about everything you can possibly imagine. I lied and lied and lied. And
I imagine it gets hard to remember the lies after time. What numbers did I give them?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Finally, they got done with me and they left. And I mean, I don't know how to describe to you how I hurt. I couldn't get off the floor. My arms didn't work anymore. My arms didn't work for days and days. But worse than all that was in my mind. It seemed like I had no control of my head anymore. I ate by wiggling around on my stomach, sticking my face in a bowl of rice. The pain was absolutely incredible.
Well,
but I knew, just like you said, I knew I had to get a grip on things because when they come back, I needed to be able to start with the same lie.
Well, and David, that is exactly where I want to pause for half a second, because how and what you did to get your mental strength back is so inspiring. So everybody stay with us. We're going to take just a real brief break and then more with David Carey shortly. We'll be right back.
Today in school, I learned a lot. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me. In English, I learned that I'm disgusting. And in physics, I learned that I'm a loser.
Today in school, I learned that I'm ugly and useless. And in gym, I learned that I'm pathetic and a joke. In history, I learned that I'm trash.
Today in school, I learned that I have no friends. In English, I learned that I make people sick. And at lunch, I learned that I sit on my own because I smell. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me.
In biology, I learned that I'm fat and stupid. And in math, I learned that I'm trash.
The only thing I didn't learn in school today?
The only thing I didn't learn today?
The only thing I didn't learn
is why no one ever helps.
Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
I'm Nancy Solari, certified life and business coach. I want to invite you to the Personal Development Boot Camp. During the boot camp, we're going to be looking at taking those insecurities that you have and getting rid of them. We're also going to look at ways in which you can thrive and live a life full of purpose. Go to livingfullout.com/bootcamp, livingfullout.com/bootcamp to sign up. I believe in you, and here's to you living your life full out.
They'll challenge your authority.
Seatbelt on.
They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
7 million children suffer from asthma, more than any other chronic disease. Most asthma attacks are caused by allergic reactions to allergens, including those left behind by cockroaches and mice. In fact, 82% of U.S. households contain mouse allergens, and cockroaches are found in up to 98% of urban homes. How can you protect your family? Find out at pestworld.org. A message from the National Pest Management Association and the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association. In partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. With Nancy's expertise, you'll learn how to embrace your potential and strive for success. If you have a question or need further support, send us an email at connect@livingfullout.com. Now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back. I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about sharing your story. And we are so lucky today to have David Carey, who is sharing about being a POW, that experience in Vietnam, what that was like. And so I'd like to welcome him back to the show. Welcome, David.
Well, thank you, Nancy. Thank you so much. I am tickled to be with you on Living Full Out today.
Oh, we're so happy to have you. And I really appreciate where we're going now into the interview briefly. Because the one thing I want people to realize is when you're under stress, when you're beaten down, and you're reaching for anything to give you that foundation, that anchor, you needed that big time. You needed a Hail Mary, something to have you not lose your mind so you could stay mentally strong. And it's interesting because it is Scripture that came to you. What was that?
Yeah, it was. So I'm laying on the floor. My arms don't work. I hurt. I can't describe how I hurt. At any rate, in my mind was out of control. It was like things just kept flashing around in my head. The dog I had when I was a kid, or my home in Jeanette, or the first car, I could not get a grip on my mind. And amongst all this other stuff flashing around came the first line from the 23rd Psalm. Now, I had learned the 23rd Psalm when I was a little bitty kid at Sunday school, and over the years I had been so adrift. I'm ashamed to tell you at that point in my life, it had been years and years since I thought of the 23rd Psalm. But that line was there, and I could think about that line. Well, my mama didn't raise any dummies. I started thinking about that line, and from somewhere, eventually, in the back of my head somewhere, I dredged up the whole 23rd Psalm. And I discovered once I had done that, I had control of my mind back. Now, I most certainly don't think that was any accident. There was the Word of God planted in my mind so that it would be there when I'd be so desperate. And that started for me what would then turn out to be 5.5 years in prison in North Vietnam.
You know, one of the things that I've heard you say before that really touched me was that you always felt like God had you in the palm of his hand. What does that mean?
Well, it is, let me try to explain it this way. As I look back on my life, it is very clear to me that God has been in the middle of all this. Hindsight gives us great insight. And there, at that time, when I was so desperate and needed to get a grip on myself, God provided. There was the 23rd Psalm. Now, that was no accident. God is faithful. Scripture tells us over and over and over and over again that God is faithful. Not you, not me. God is faithful. And so as I look back on my life and I think about, I could look back on my life and say, why me? Why did that happen to me? That was 5.5 years in the flower of my manhood. But it's very clear to me now, and I can tell you why. It is so that right now, at this moment, you and I, on Living Full Out, would be talking about this the way we are. Mm-hmm. So God works in our lives in mysterious ways, lots of ways we don't like, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Well, and one thing I think is also really, really sweet is you before getting that assignment, before going to Vietnam, you had met Karen, and so many people came back from the war, and the women that they had loved had moved on. They thought they weren't coming back, and Karen not only waited, but she'd spent she went to visit your family 9 different times. She was a part of your family even though you weren't there. And I'm just such a hopeless romantic. I love that. I think that's so beautiful. And you married her as soon as you got back, 6 weeks in, married her. And I just want to share with everyone that, Karen did pass too. That love, great love, gave you children, everything, just a beautiful love story had passed. But where I want to go next with this is because God had you meet Sandy at church. And again, you were prepared to be a bachelor for the rest of your life. But God gave you Sandy.
I'd be a good bachelor.
Good. You'd be a great bachelor. Again, you're a stud. You're a hero. But the reason why I bring this up is, some of us have a hard time finding a Karen once. And how did you get so lucky to find a Karen and a Sandy twice?
Well, I could tell you it was because I was so cool and studly and good looking, but that's not the reason. It was, we're back to God being active in our lives. I don't know how it happened. Why did I even go to that church service that Saturday night and walk in there? It was dark. I sat down, and here I'm sitting next to Sandy, and so, I said hi to her, chatted with her for a minute. I left there thinking, well, that was kind of interesting. Of course, it took me then about 4 months to get up my courage to call her and ask her to go out. But one thing leads to another.
Is when you've been married for as long as you were to Karen and how successful that was, is it easier to spot another person to marry?
I don't know the answer to that question, Nancy. Here's what I do know from my experience. I know that if you have been in a marriage and it's been good, that you know that's really how we're intended to be, to live. And so doing it again, falling in love, hopefully with another person where the relationship would be as good as the first one, is very easy to do, actually. I wasn't thinking that way. I wasn't even looking, but, God had other plans.
Mm-hmm. When you came back from Vietnam, there were a lot of troops that did not get arms wide open welcomes. But fighter pilots like yourself, you did come back, but POWs, you did come back as heroes. So your experience was different. When you look at where we are in the world today, where our military is, just everything happening, do you feel like our country still has that beating heart of patriotism that that we can get through the storm?
That's really a great question, Nancy. I don't know if we've learned from Vietnam. It was a very, very, very divisive time in our country. There were demonstrations and riots, and people were even died through that at home in the United States, arguing about the Vietnam. I mean, there was the Kent State riot, and some people died there. It seems like we are on the same sort of trajectory all over again. Now, not to that extent, but we don't seem to learn well. Whoever was the wise person that said, if you don't remember history, you're destined to repeat it, seems to me to have been right on target. I'm hoping that that's not the case anymore. But a lot of things that are going on in our country and in our culture are very disheartening.
Well, and that's just very honest, and that's very honest. And I wanted to ask you that because you have been very successful in your military career. You are a hero. You did come back. You have been a family man, a very good husband to 2 wives, and I think you've lived life the best that anyone could. I mean, short of the white picket fence, right? But at the end of the day, what does living full out mean to you? Because I know you speak in front of a lot of people. You see where our world is. What does that mean to you?
Well, when I speak, 95% of the time when I'm speaking, I use that experience as a POW as an analogy for dealing with problems, change, pressure in your life, tragedy in your life, business decisions, all kinds of things. It's a very good analogy. And what I believe is learnable from my experience is really truly the framework I use to talk about my experience. I tell people, when people hear about my background, the question I most frequently ask is, how did you do that? How could you do that for 5.5 years? And the answer to that question in my mind is really very simple. We did what we had to do. We did our best. We grew through that experience. We kept our sense of humor, and we kept the faith. Faith in ourselves, faith in each other, faith in our country, faith in God. And I see those things as directly translatable into, quite frankly, everybody's lives, both professionally and personally. I mean, the question is, things are going to happen to us. we'd like to be able to be in control of everything, but that's not the way it is. Things happen in our lives. And then the question is, how will you deal with your problems, the pressure in your life, the tragedy that comes in your life, the results of decisions that have been made?
Well, I think that you are just really a gift, and you took a really messy, heartbreaking, painful experience and paid it forward in great messaging and inspiration. So I'd very much, David, like to thank you for being on the show, how time goes so fast with you. And but we're going to just continue to wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I really have been. It's been a pleasure to be with you, and this whole process that you have set up to interview people is enjoyable and easy. And
thank you so much, David.
If any assistance, let me know.
Oh, thank you. And for everyone else, we are going to be coming right back. We're still all out there sharing our stories, right? Okay, we'll be back.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. UVA rays age the skin, UVB rays burn, and both cause cancer. But the perfect sunscreen doesn't count if you use it wrong. Don't need sunscreen on a cloudy day? Wrong. 80% of UV rays still get through the haze. Only use sunscreen at the beach? Nope. Anytime you're outside, UV rays attack the skin, so you need protection. And you have to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
When it comes to sharing your story, I know sometimes it may be like, "Oh, what if I say the wrong thing?" Or, "Oh, gosh, I'm going to be so embarrassed," or "What if they judge me?" But you know what? Rather than thinking, what if, take that bold chance. What if you inspire them? What if you connect to them and great friendships are ahead of you? You know what? I would rather take a leap of faith on that what if every day of the week, because that is what it means to live full out.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a professional motivational speaker, Nancy can assist you to blow through your setbacks and start living full out. If you have an inspirational story you want to share, email us at connect@livingfullout.com. Once again, here's Nancy.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And we've been talking about sharing your story. And I know that can just be sometimes so intimidating. And sometimes we think to ourselves, who cares? And then, of course, there are some people that just love to talk and rattle off every detail of their life, what they ate for lunch, and you name it. I believe there's a somewhere in between, being intimidated and saying too much. But at the end of the day, the human experience, the connection we have, that is what it's all about. I find it so interesting. I've worked in many different careers, broadcasting, real estate, and the looking good, I got to drive the best car. I've got to, say all the right things. I have to have all the right outfit. I'm telling you that may look good, right, from the outside, but it's not a story. It's not approachable. Granted, I am legally blind, right? So the jig is up there, but it's funny. I love my fur babies, right? And we'll be on the ground, we'll be playing, we're going on walks. I'm carrying my dog Charlie down the stairs, and that leads to a lot of dog hair on my fleece, on my shirt, on my sweater. And sometimes I will literally be out and about and someone will look at me and say, "So you have dogs?" It's because I'm wearing my dogs on my sweater, right? And it's a moment, it's a laugh, and it's, oh my gosh, I bet I'm just wearing my Labrador all over me. And the thing, it's not about looking good. Then all of a sudden they're telling me about their dogs, and away we go, having a connection, right? And we're sharing each other's stories. We're bonding. Maybe we exchange numbers. Maybe I never see them again. But again, it was about somebody saying something that perked an interest and me coming up with a story and giving facts of myself. And that's how it starts. And really, it shouldn't be any more complicated than that. Let's just look at scenarios that can be very, very structured and sometimes stiff and sterile. Networking functions, right? Oh, they can sometimes be the most awkward. You go and you don't know anybody, and everybody's whipping out business cards. And so what do you do? And where are you from? And, it's all kind of surfacey conversations. Here I roll on in with my guide dog, Frost. Or back in the day, it used to be my white cane. And I found that people really long for substance. They long for, don't give me your business card. Please don't tell me what you do. Let's tell me what's your favorite activity? What did you eat for breakfast, right? There's a lot more interesting things that we could talk about. And I urge you that as you go out there to such a networking group, be that person that's different. Now, I'm not saying cruise on in with, a sweater with dog hair on it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying be that person that has ready maybe a joke, maybe some of your favorite quotes. Not that you would rattle them off inauthentically, but, to inspire, to give humor. You might also think about just being vulnerable, being honest. When I go places like networking functions, I always come up with something. I always say to them, hey, it's been really nice meeting you, but the next time you see me, know that I'm not going to see you. So you just come bear hug me, or you just say, hey, it's Rachel, right? And I'll know it's you. Again, it's about having sparkle, charisma. Those are the type of people that people know, like, and trust and want to work with. Same goes with when you're on a date, right? Oh, can't tell you how many stiff dates I've had, in the sense of not the person being stiff, but just the conversation, right? These are people that, don't want to say the wrong thing. They want to play the part. How are you? I like to go right for it. I'm like, so, you've been divorced? How long ago? What happened? I don't say it in a mean way, but we've all had heartbreak. And after they share something with me, then I'll tell them about, blindness, or I'll tell them about, my one of my greatest role models was my papa. He died at 100 and a half and was a military hero. And, so not every story we talk about has to be a negative one. You can talk about your role models. You can talk about your favorite birthday. Oh, mine was when I was 5. My mom got a circus performer. He was blowing up, weenie dogs and all these great balloon animals. And it was like a circus in my backyard. It was fantastic. Right? I would talk about that with somebody. I would maybe talk about, the storms I've weathered if I feel like it's appropriate. And then the biggest gift that you can ever give when we're talking about sharing our stories is not having it just be you sharing your story, but the greatest gift is asking someone questions. I find, because I do interview people all the time, when I go out with my friends for like dinner or something, I might be there for like the first 45 minutes to an hour where it's all about them, because I'm kind of asking questions and letting them talk or vent, or I'm empathetic. And even though I might only talk about myself for 15 minutes of that whole experience, I'm glad that I gave them that outlet. And you can allow people to tell their story back to you. Maybe they felt no one ever cared. That is a gift. So we want to thank you so much for listening today, and I hope that by hearing our conversations with listeners and our guests, that you are ready to let yourself be vulnerable. Get out there, share your story, and yes, live full out. Thank you so much for joining us. We wish to see you on our next podcast. Can't wait. And go to livingfullout.com if you want to hear or share today's show again. As always, here's to you living full out.
Thank you for listening to the Living Full Out Show with Nancy Solari. To learn more about this program, visit livingfullout.com for the latest episodes. Connect with the Living Full Out community by following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Here's to you, living full out.